Okay.
Welcome back to the Eagles Nest podcast. Man, it's been a while. I think we're going to what, 3 weeks?
It's been
Yeah.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
We've been busy.
Yeah. This is where real estate meets real talk, and where Brad and I try to save you from learning everything the hard way.
Which, let's be honest, that's how we do it.
Yeah, trial by fire, right?
Yeah, I like to screw up.
Yeah. I mean, what else can you ask for? Be a screw up.
Not be a screw up, I guess. But
So, yeah, I'm Vince Devall, the Eagle Homes team, powered by Caldwell Banker. We're here right in downtown Burlington, right next to the construction.
right next to the construction. It's going ahead of schedule, I believe, from what I hear.
Wow, that's amazing.
But yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Over promise, under deliver. No, under promise, over deliver.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
So the fact is, today we're diving into something every agent deals with: buyers, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of times we talk about, you as a buyer, you as a seller, how to help you. Today we're kind of flipping the script a little bit, talking about how agents can really win over buyers, how to attract them, how to earn their trust, and how to actually get them to the closing table, which as a buyer can actually help you too, knowing what good agents do.
I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, getting to the closing table is the number one goal. That's the final finish line, I guess we could call it. But because buyers have options,
Yeah.
hundreds of agents in your area, Zillow, Redfin, their cousins, friends, neighbor who just got their license. There's all kinds of ways that buyers can seek help as far as buying their home, right?
Yeah, yeah, and everyone's got an opinion, even your parents. So
Yeah.
the question is, why should they choose you, right? And today we're breaking down some tips and tricks on how to make that happen.
So I think we need to start with the truth. Buyers don't pick the agent with the most experience typically. They tend to pick the agent who makes them feel most comfortable, which I understand. I always, I've been in some sort of sales consulting most of my life, and I think people do business with who they trust and who they like.
Yeah.
I mean,
yep. Now the key there, right, is get them to know you.
Right.
So buyers choose the agent who feels like they can guide them, not a salesperson, not someone who listens, or they want someone who listens, not someone who just lectures them on what to do and how to do it. Right.
I think another big factor is, of course, communication. Fast is important, but also consistent with their responses, when they respond, how they respond, just providing that guidance.
Yeah. I think responsiveness is a superpower. It's like putting on your cape and your mask and going to work. I've won buyers over simply because I replied before the other three agents they messaged did. So, it's all about getting them the information in a timely manner.
Yeah, exactly. Here's the kicker, though. Buyers don't know how to judge a good agent. They judge based on how they communicate, how they make you feel, whether you seem competent. Again, that's kind of also, I would say, seem trustworthy. And then whether you actually are paying attention.
Yeah.
You just can't be doing a Charlie Harper. I understand. For those 2.5 Men friends or fans, you'll know what I mean.
Oh my God, I love that show. I think you nailed it, right? And nail those top 5 things. And you're already in the top 10 of agents right there, right? Paying attention, I think, is really key.
Yeah.
Out of those things, communication, competent, trustworthy, but paying attention to those details.
Yeah.
Because we can communicate well, but if we're not good listeners, and we'll talk about that down the road here, I think we miss a little bit of that boat.
Well, one thing I'll say is with the trust part is, and I say this all the time, when you first get on the phone with somebody, you've got about 7 seconds probably to capture their attention. You got another 20-ish seconds to then probably keep it. But then you got to start with the trust of how quickly can you get to that?
Yeah.
And you want to get to some level of that during either the first call, first text, or the first showing.
Right. And most agents blow it by talking too much about themselves, right? They're not doing that thing we just talked about, listening.
Yeah. So the big secret for me is I just ask a lot of questions. I ask a lot of questions about their goals, what's important to them, including what's important to them with, again, back to communication. The communication is usually typically what builds the trust,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. I think my go-to, opener, first question is, what's motivating you to make this move?
Hmm.
What's the dream outcome for you, right? And that just, oh my gosh, opens up a full can of worms. Like they'll just start rambling. Like, hey, our lease is up, or we're about to have another child, and we need to make some moves. So it really is, a great way to
Well,
open up with.
the great thing too, it really depends on each buyer's personality. Like you said, you mentioned like you ask a question and then some people just start rattling and open right up. Some you have to keep asking
Right.
questions until they finally just open up. But that question does three things when you finally do it. It shows you care.
Yep.
It gives you some sort of emotional context, and then it helps tailor your strategy on kind of how you're going to do these things,
Right.
how you're going to get to again that finish line we talked about.
Yeah, and I don't know why every time you lean that way you come out of screen, so just be careful. See? Yeah, and then you follow with something like here's how I help buyers in today's market. Here's how I help buyers win in
Yep.
this market. Here's what I do when it comes to showing you homes, right? And that just right there
Yep.
starts to suck them into knowing you,
Mhm.
liking you.
Mhm. One of the things I do is, and every agent's different. Some agents like to go through the home and kind of point out things. I'll point out things, but I like to start with them like, hey, I'm just going to watch you
Yeah.
and feel free to react or say whatever you want or don't say a word. We can talk about it later. I'm just going to go out and watch you go through the house, and then I'll make a few comments. And immediately, I think that usually builds some sort of trust. Like, okay, he's not here just to shove a property down our throat, because I think agents can sometimes, not intentionally always, but accidentally do that
I agree.
because they're, of course, wanting to accomplish their goal, but agents also have the mind they also want to make a sale.
Yeah.
So, but with your buyers, then it's not the important thing of buying a house when it's convenient for you. It's buying a house when it's convenient for your buyer, finding the right one that they're comfortable with.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that. I do the same exact thing. The one thing I tell them when we walk in, I say, hey, I'm going to let you explore the house. I want you to open all the doors, cabinets, everything, nook, cranny, stand dressers and nightstands, because that's where people keep their personal stuff.
Mhm.
And, it kind of gets everyone to chuckle a little bit. And then I said, when we're done, we're going to talk about things I noticed.
Yeah.
And then I'll point out, like, hey, did you notice the floor slant a little bit front to back? Or did you notice that this house was built in the 70s, therefore the rooms have no ceiling lights, no ceiling fans. It's all plug a lamp into an outlet and it's switch. And people are like, wow, I didn't even pay attention to that, right? So there you go. You're building that
Mhm.
trust. And please, for the love of things real estate, you know, we're not trying to impress buyers with fancy jargon like, hey, did you know this was an architectural Cape Cod built in the 1960s by Frank Lloyd Wright? They don't give a crap about that stuff, people, right? Give it to them, treat them like they're human. So yeah.
I'm laughing because I really try and stay away from the jargon, and I've actually returned the question. If a buyer actually asks me the question, what do you think about what kind of style is this home? I'm like, well, what kind of style do you think it is?
Yeah.
Is this the style you like?
Right.
Doesn't really matter what style it is, but as long as you like it, unless you're some sort of architectural connoisseur that actually cares about that kind of, yeah, Frank Lloyd Wright. Some people don't even know what that means.
Right.
So anyway,
Right.
buyers don't want a professor; they want a advisor, they want a partner, and trying to find them that perfect home.
Yeah, yeah. And then that's where the buyer consultation
Mm-hmm.
is your chance to lock in that loyalty. But most agents treat it like a PowerPoint presentation. They're
Mm-hmm.
like, here's step one, here's step two. By the time we get to step 10, I'm going to give you the keys, right? That's not the goal.
Yeah.
That's not the goal in that concept.
I'll say in a 30-minute consultation with a buyer, my goal is probably to be talking for maybe 5 total minutes of that.
Yeah.
A lot of my stuff should be about questions. And then the wrap up is I like to summarize what I heard, make sure we're on the same page. And because to me, at the end of the day, the best consultations feel like I'm catching up with an old friend.
Yeah, that's
How's
great.
life? What's going
Yeah.
on? Things like that.
Right.
And then maybe whether it's at an office, over the phone, or sitting in a coffee shop.
Yeah. And the structure a lot of times is very simple. It's their goals,
Mhm.
their timeline, their fears.
Mhm.
That's a big one. That's one I think people forget to ask, right? Because
Yeah,
you as an agent, if you're listening, you're gonna be able to overcome those
yeah.
fears, right? And then there are must-haves versus nice-to-haves. Like
Mhm.
what are they willing to compromise on? And then from there, it's how the process works, what the next steps on,
Mhm.
how I'm going to communicate with you, and then at the end of the day, how I'm going to help you win the offer
Yeah,
when we find that perfect house.
yeah. I like your fears question because it's different for different buyers. An experienced buyer may have been gone through a bad experience once or twice, so they're gonna be concerned about those things happening again, missing something on an inspection, or whatever. I think an obvious thing is with first time home buyers is just a fear of like, I've never done this before, right?
Right.
So everybody's got different fears, but everybody has fears. So I think it's pretty cool. But and then there's that magic line. Does that sound like the kind of agent you want in your corner?
Yeah.
Ultimately, you want to make sure that you're comfortable with them, but also, of course, they're comfortable with you.
Yeah, and by asking that question and put it in that term,
Mhm.
it's really hard for them to say no. Because if they do say no, it's an opener for you. Like, great, what are we missing?
Yeah.
What else do you need from me to help you through this
Hmm.
milestone with this, big purchase? Like, this is a big deal. This is, I call it generational wealth, right?
Hmm.
Some people call it, lifestyle, whatever it
Hmm.
might be. But it's a great opportunity. If that doesn't sound like the kind of agent they want to work with, what are we missing, right? So 9 times out of 10, they're going to say yes.
Yeah.
But because you've shown them you have a plan, you have a process,
Hmm.
you're moving in the right direction.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, though, this, especially when you're trying to get a new client, especially one that comes through maybe like an online lead or
Yeah,
checking out your website, you're still trying to stand out in a sea of agents because they have agents calling them. They've interacted with other agents because of all the websites or places they're searching, right? So at the end of the day, we got to be real. Buyers are actually bombarded by agents,
yeah.
right?
So let's be yeah. So what do you do to stand out?
Yep.
What is the key? What are one, two, three things that make you different from Joe Schmo down the street?
But I think the simplest answer, you kind of said it. You show up differently,
Yeah.
right? So some examples of that, and I haven't done this every time, but I've done it here and there.
Yeah.
Just make myself stand out a little bit. Send a quick video text introducing yourself. Share a custom search with a personal note. Give them a buyer roadmap. Like we have PDF forms to kind of give you the layout of how this process in general will work, right?
Yeah.
So those are just some quick examples of how you can stand out. And for those of you that are looking for an agent, how we can try and stand out. The other is a nice little send a voice memo, recapping next steps and saying what we want to do next, right?
Yeah.
Because again, especially with those first time home buyers, they don't know what's next,
Right.
and sometimes they're a little shy to ask.
Yeah.
Some are just like, okay, what's next? But that's why I always like to end on like, all right, here's our next steps. Do you see something different?
Well, and I a lot of times too will, not just recapping it, but I'll pull something positive out. If I'm sending a search with a little
Mhm.
note and they have, a daughter named Charlie, I'm gonna be like, hey, this bedroom could be a great room for Charlie, right? Or they have a dog
Mhm.
named Raya. Hey, did you notice the backyard was fenced in and it'd be a great place for Raya to run? What that tells them is I was really listening. So I
Yeah,
make it a little more personal.
yeah.
And here's the biggest one: be the calmest person in the room.
Hmm.
I do notice when I work with buyers, especially first time buyers, their anxiety level is very high.
Hmm.
So I try to bring it down. I change my tone. If it's excitement, then I'm excited with them. If it is mellowness, then I bring my tone down.
Hmm.
I talk softer, I talk slower. So I match that tone. And that is really hard
Mm.
if you're not listening.
Any type of counseling or anything, I think that's one of the biggest things you'll learn is you have to match. If you match people's tone, because you're a calm, quiet person, do you really want crazy Vince in your face?
Right.
No, you don't. I mean, but it's because the whole process, whether you're experienced by it or not, it's a stressful process. Because statistically speaking, even your forever home, you're buying a property for probably 5, 7, 10, 20 plus years. There's a stress level of that,
Yeah.
right? Am I making the right decision? And I think an agent can really help you by another word for saying taking the stress out or being calm is taking the emotion out.
Yeah,
We have to take the emotion out
that's a good
and
point.
try and speak factually.
Yeah. Yeah, they want someone that says, "I've got you. Here's what we are going to do." And confidence is contagious,
Hmm.
right? Confidence is contagious. I tell new agents all the time, fake it till you make it. Yeah, because if you act confident, they're going to buy into
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think something for us with agents, we want to create a loyal buyer, not just now, but in the future when they refer friends, family, whatever. You want to have that level of like they are so loyal to you that I mean, even beyond buying and selling a home, if someone wants to hire a painter, I want them to call me.
Yeah.
That's a level of loyalty and of course trust when it's like, hey, we need the interior painted. Who would you recommend? I love that. But it's not automatic. You have to earn that. That's a big
Right.
thing.
Right. Yeah. And you're that by doing three things very consistently. Communicate proactively, right? Educate without overwhelming,
Mhm.
right? Like especially first time home buyers or people that haven't bought, older buyers
Mhm.
that are now buying for the first time in 30 years. You don't want to give them everything at once because it's just as overwhelming, especially when they're dealing with lenders too,
Mhm.
right? Educate them without overwhelming and then show value before they
Mhm.
ask for it. So give them information before they ask for it.
I like your educate without overwhelming. One of the things you'll get buyers sometimes that will say, hey, they'll keep asking like what's next. I'm like, hey, you know what? Don't worry. I'll tell you what's next at the appropriate time. I don't want you to get ahead of yourself. It's again that reassurance, that calmingness, like saying, hey, don't worry, I will walk you through this.
Yeah.
But like a quick example though is even when nothing is happening, as far as like they can get overwhelmed by simply, gosh, we can't find anything right. Just that sometimes it's just that weekly check-in or every couple of days saying like, hey, I know we haven't seen anything. I'm watching, the searches are there, we've got it set up for you. We've got the resource out there. Sometimes there's just a lull of what works for you. And that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that alone has saved me, from losing buyers to other agents because I'm just, staying top of mind. And that is huge to a lot of buyers that, okay, he is working on my side,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
And don't forget to set expectations early. Here's how we work together. Here's how I protect you. And here's how I help you win.
Yeah. Clarity creates loyalty right from the
Yep,
start.
exactly. Um, a biggest thing right now that I get asked a lot was really prevalent. Pretty much it felt like on every offer 4 or 5 years ago was winning against multiple offers, right?
Yeah.
So it's it's the part everyone wants to know. If we run into an offer where there's multiples, how do we win?
Yeah.
Right?
I think first, stop writing offers before you understand the seller.
Hmm.
That is the biggest thing agents just they don't pick up the phone, they don't call
Hmm.
the listing agent, they don't text the listing agent or email or whatever the means is to communicate with that agent. Get on the phone, find out that what's important.
Yeah. Yeah, that to me is I don't understand why you do it without calling the listing. I'm gonna give an example last week where we ended up not writing an offer because I called the listing agent because things I asked, well, when we find out there's a multiple offer situation going on, I call the listing agent and say, outside of price, what are important contingencies or what are important things in the offer? There could be, it could be, hey, we need 45 days to close because we got to go find a place, whatever. There's all kinds of different,
Yeah.
timeline, things like that. Well, we found out that literally for this buyer or this seller, the only important things were least amount of contingencies and price. So I had a conversation with my buyer and they're like, what do you think? I said, to be honest with you, where your max is, we won't compete. And I said, I knew that. And the wife was like, you're confident? I'm like, I'm very confident in that. And she's like, well, let's not waste our time.
Which
I
property
don't,
was that?
there's one over in
East
Elkhorn,
East Troy, Elkhorn?
East Troy.
East Troy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that house went for over 40,000 over list price.
Yeah. And we maybe could have gone seven.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things where, but it's important that if your agent's not asking, your agent's not doing their job. I don't know how else
Yeah.
to sugarcoat
Yeah.
that because you, those questions, what's important about price? How many offers are expected? What would make our offer stand out? That's just a very open-ended one that I love. Hey, how do we make our offer stand out? You can get specific or you can just ask that simple one, right?
Yeah, and then you craft that offer around that intel. You
Right.
build your offer around that intel and you make it as appealing and confident as you can for your buyer.
Mhm. Yeah. Strategies that work: strong earnest money, shortened contingencies or less contingencies if you're comfortable with it, flexible closing times that are important to the seller, pre-approval from a reputable lender, and then clean and simplest terms possible.
Yeah, yeah. And here's the underrated one. Underrated one. Agents, write a cover letter to the listing agent, not the seller, to the listing agent. Summarize your terms, summarize who your buyer is.
Yeah.
Brand new family, just getting started. Like try to hit home a little bit, and then say it then. I look forward to working with you. Like I can't wait to work together. This is big. Can't say how many times I get an offer on a property and it is sent from the DocuSign or the dot loop.
Yeah.
And it's like, here's our offer. I'm like, great. Now I gotta understand. And send it in one PDF. Don't send it in multiple PDFs. That annoys me too. Sorry.
That's actually a question you can ask, because some agents, I'll say this, I actually like them in separate PDFs because I don't want to split them later in our systems. And I'm a paperless person.
Yeah.
So I don't want to scan them in separate. And with our system, we're supposed to separate them. But that's a great question, actually. Ask the agent, how would you like it? Just those little annoyances can make, or things that make the listing agent feel better.
Right.
They might talk your offer up a little bit more, like, hey, by the way, and I'll say this. It's kind of a way of saying this, which is important, is, hey, I'm easy to work with. My buyer is solid. Here's why we're going to close smoothly. And I always mention, because we have a common goal, but just doing the little things that make the listing agent happy, proving you're easy to work with, it to me goes a long way.
Yeah, at least listing agents want the path of least resistance, right? Be that path, be that that agent that they want to work with.
Yeah. Talk about how you stay ahead of timelines, right?
Yeah.
I think that's something I've definitely learned. Like, I know I get annoyed if we're up on a deadline day of, especially if it happens to be a Friday or the weekend, and I'm getting an extension for an inspection contingency because the buyers are dragging out. I want to know that 2 days ahead of time. Like, hey, we're going to need to extend this. Gives me time, not trying to call my sellers at dinner or whatever. So, but here's, to me, like, there's a big thing about being the agent that buyers then recommend, because an agent I tell clients this: you are more valuable as a referral source than you'll ever be as a client, unless you're some sort of investor buyer that buys hundreds of properties like that. But otherwise, you're going to buy maybe a handful of homes from me. That's if I start from the beginning of your career to the end of yours, which would hopefully not be me working that long, and I want to retire, right? So, but when buyers feel like they're taken care of, simply they refer you. You don't even have to ask.
Yeah, and referrals come from moments, not transactions.
Correct. The moment you explain something clearly, the moment you have them calm, the moment you celebrate with them, the moment you solve a problem, that's it.
Yeah,
you're unforgettable, right?
Yeah, and that's what makes you unforgettable, is you are the solution to a lot of things that is going on. So it's great.
I mean, at the end of the day, buyers don't need the perfect agent; they need the right agent.
Yeah, and the right agent isn't the one who listens, communicate, and the right agent is the one that listens, communicates, fights for them, sticks up for them, supports them.
Yeah, and if you can do that consistently, you'll never have to worry about where your next buyer is coming from at all.
Yeah, so true. So, hey, that's a little bit for those agents out there that are just getting into the business, need some tips, tricks. And for you buyers out there, what makes a good agent? Like, some of the things to look for. So thanks for hanging out with us on the Eagles Nest podcast.
Get out there. We'll see you next week, I think.
Yeah, we will. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week. Bye.